What's up, everybody? Welcome to Storm Sessions. My name is Danny Enriquez, and I am here with a member of maybe the first family of Hurricane Athletics, closer for your Miami Hurricanes, Brian Walters. Brian, how are you doing?
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Obviously, ups and downs, insane season, really entertaining season for the fans. I know you guys went through it and a lot of different emotions. How are you feeling right now?
Obviously, it stinks, with the season being over. But man, what a great group of people, a family. The Canes baseball, it's a family, and we're so thankful for everything the fans did for us this year and being there with us through the ups and downs. And it was such a special year, one that I'll never forget.
So before we get into some of that, let's start where it all began, right? Palm Bay, Florida. Your brother Andrew, older brother, right? Then two sisters, Jenna and Allie, right?
Yes, sir.
Family. Obviously, we know the ties to the Canes. Your uncle, Matt Walters. I remember watching him when he was in college, right when they won the national championship. He was sitting up there interviewing with ESPN. So that was you were like zero at that point,
Yeah,
just about to be born. Talk about growing up in that household as a UM fan and just being with your brothers and sisters.
We watched Miami everything, right? Obviously, my uncle, it was one of the coolest experiences before I was even born, right? My family, we've loved Miami since the day I was born. I think there's pictures probably 2 days in me wearing something Miami, right? And it meant everything to us. And then getting to that age where I really wanted to be a Miami Hurricane, right? My brother got to do it and then me get to do it. But man, I couldn't ask for anything. Better place to play, a better place to be. But I felt like Miami was kind of in the mix for me since I was born, right? We like I said, we watched everything, and it's such a special place to my family. And countless amounts of football games, countless amount of get-togethers, just being Miami fans. So Miami's a special place to us.
Where did baseball start for you?
As early as T-ball, as early as I can remember, probably around 4 years old. And me and my brother, obviously playing together was a special thing because we got to grow up that way and practice with each other, just in the backyard with dad, with mom. And mom played softball, dad played basketball, but we found a bond in baseball. And that was a special thing for all of us growing up.
I was going to ask you about your mom because she was a catcher, right?
Yes, sir.
Be honest, who was better receiving pitches when you went in the backyard, your mom or your dad?
I gotta say, mom, right? She had the skill set there. My dad, he was big on helping us, develop his pitchers and wanted that for us. My dad being 6'8", right, basketball player, but he really wanted us to play ball. And I got to experiment with basketball. I was a late bloomer, so basketball wasn't really in the shoots for me. But Mom, she actually taught me to catch. I got to catch at a young age, and it was super fun. I was the short guy, so I went back behind the plate and just tried to be fearless in the baseball. But mom helped me a lot with that. That's
one thing your mom, when I talked to her, she was very much emphatic. You guys were both late bloomers. And it's hard to believe because, it's not like a ton of people coming out of Palm Bay. You got one professional athlete, one soon to be professional athlete, at least at some point here. So what was it like? Were you really not the best player in your league at that age?
Really, no. Honestly, from what I remember, I was at 10 years old, probably a little over 4'5", right? Like there's nothing crazy going on for me. I was a little guy, but I just loved playing, right? I loved being out there. I loved practicing, and getting to see my brother, grow up and do it was super inspiring for me, right? Every time I saw my brother do something, I was like, man, I want to do that. Like, and it was just like, it kept going and going and going, and almost felt like I was chasing him at some point. Man, I want to do what Andrew's doing, right? And it really helped me along that journey. And obviously eventually, Lord willing, I grew, right? And I got a couple opportunities, but it was crazy to see it all go down.
Your relationship with your brother, obviously Canes fans know all about him, but different personalities, right? You like to talk, not for no reason, but you talk, you're a positive guy. You bring it out of people. Andrew more reserves. What was your relationship like growing up with him?
Best friends, right? Obviously, we're different people, but man, we bonded in so many different ways. I'm super talkative. Andrew was a little more soft-spoken to himself, but the same heart, right? We had such a heart for this place and such a heart for the sport. And me and Andrew, we did everything together. We fished, we hunt, we just spent time together. My childhood wasn't filled with phones and TVs. It was me and Andrew outside doing something dumb, probably, mom having to chase us down and get out of the mud, right? So me and Andrew were best friends since the beginning. And that year, obviously for me, it was a hard year when I came here because I lost my season to my elbow, but still the coolest moment of my life being with my brother. One of the coolest seasons and the coolest bonding moment, living together, away from home. Me and Andrew, our relationship because of that year is probably the deepest it's ever been. So it's such a special thing.
Growing up, You mentioned hunting, fishing. You got some great fishing up there where you're from. A lot of sharks in the water. Got to be a little careful. But you understand you guys have like a piece of property, right? You'd hunt at.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about some of the adventures you get into out there.
Man, Dad, from day one, Dad was taking us out, in the yard and fishing and hunting, and that was instilled from us from a really young age, right? But my dad was a professional bass fisherman, so I remember I wanted to aspire to be that too, right? Dad does it, I want to do it, so we would fish every chance we get. I honestly, when I was younger, I probably fished just as much as I played ball. As soon as practice was over, Dad, you got the rods? Like, we'd go out and fish, you know what I mean? So my dad really instilled in us at a young age, and then we still do it, right? When I go home, unfortunately, maybe it won't be able to fish much, this summer, but when I go home, I'll definitely be getting on the lake with my dad and my brother.
So more a freshwater guy than a saltwater guy.
A little bit of both, right? We like to free dive. So that's one thing. We like to go down and spearfish in saltwater, but I would say I grew up mostly, fishing the Sebastian Inlet, but also a lot of freshwater.
You guys going to go lobstering here in a couple of months, or that might interfere with some baseball?
If it doesn't interfere with baseball, I'll be there. Growing up, actually, every summer during minute season, we would go down to Big Pine Key, hop in the water and try. We'd limit out every year and enjoy that with the family. So that was an every year thing for a while.
One thing I heard about you mentioned being a late bloomer, tried basketball, didn't get as far there. Even as a senior already committed to play college baseball, you're trying out for the football team, right? How's your football game?
Not the greatest, right? I was fast, right? It was probably a little late for me to start football, but man, that was fun, right? There's something about football seeing my uncle, all the highlights of him playing, I was like, I wasn't like that, but it was cool just to be out there Friday Night Lights and be with those guys, and met a bunch of crazy, awesome people. Played a lot more special teams than anything, but a really, really cool experience.
Was that like humbling? I mean, because like I said, I don't know how many people in your graduating class are going to be professional athletes. I imagine it's not a huge number, and you're out here playing special teams and not caring, not having that ego about it. What was that like, playing these sports where you're not in your domain, where you're the man, and still having fun and competing? It
was just awesome, right? Like, it was cool to be around those guys where that's their craft, right? It's super inspiring to see how hard they work at their sport, just as hard as I worked at mine, right? And kudos to them, man. It's a really, really hard thing to do. And I think everybody that does that should be super proud. And it was I think it was such a special thing to see that, right? Like, you don't get to see that when you're over at your side sometimes, right? You get to go, I went in a different domain and got to see what it's truly about and how much work those guys put in to be where they are. And it helped me. It helped me as a baseball player realize that I got to do more, right? I need to do more. And it was cool to be a part of that and cool to be a part of that experience.
You and your brother both known for, high octane arms. It's not like you're not that deceptive in terms of people know what you got, right? When did you figure out what you had as far as just your arm strength and your ability to throw fast?
All glory to God for that, man. I remember being in high school and starting to grow a little bit and being out there at shortstop. At first moment when you start hearing the ball almost sizzle when it comes out, like it's spinning, right? You're like, wow, that's kind of cool. I remember sitting in the bullpen, I'd say my beginning of my junior year, and I finally threw a pitch where I heard that. I was like, wow, that was cool. And my coach was behind me, hyping me up. It had to be probably not even 80 miles an hour, right? And I'm freaking out, like, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Like, I'd been chasing my brother for so long. He was probably throwing the Octane you talk about since we were 12 years old. So for me, it was a little later, but man, just like it kind of grew from there, right? And the love of doing that. I think it takes a love for throwing to want to continue to do that through the pains, the ups and downs. And I think I'm just super blessed, thankful to God and everything He's done for me in there.
We know how you deal with pressure. We saw you here in the tournament, but at a young age, was that hard to be like, hey man, everybody's looking at me. If I screw up, it's going to be on me, or everybody's going to think it's on me? Or is that something from the beginning? You're like, man, give me the ball. I love this.
My dad, he would text me every week and tell me, pressure is a privilege, kid. There's a reason you get to do that and be in that situation. And it's a privilege, nothing to be scared of, and thankfully having my brother already do it, it was a really easy outlet for me. After a game, where I felt like maybe I didn't mentally wasn't there enough. I'd call him, hey man, what should I do? Well, what's the word you got for me, man, when I'm out there? And he'd give it to me. And every week, and JD and Laz, man, they worked so hard with me on the mental side of the game, right? And we talk about baseball being almost 90% mental. It truly is, right? Keeping it within your head and doing exactly what you can do. And I go out there and we pray on the mound, man. Keep me steady here. Keep me steady here. And wanting to do it for something bigger than you, right? It's for the school, for my team. For everything that this school has meant to me. That was what was so special about this year. It wasn't really about me. I wanted to be out there for my guys and those amazing coaches that are behind me.
And you weren't playing on like, a Douglas, right? Or like an American Heritage, like a super team where everybody's a D1 prospect. Like, so what was that experience where you're at a normal school?
No, absolutely. Kevin McLean was my high school pitching coach and head coach. I attribute a lot of everything that's ever happened for me to him. He kept that confidence in me, and something I always say is I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for that. Right? It wasn't for my high school. I loved my little high school and my teammates there. My best friend was my catcher, Matthew Traducci. He's still my best friend. Back in the day, other than obviously Big Bro, but that was a special time for me, and sticking it out, right? Never leaving, right? Like, no matter what the season brought, no matter how it went, that was commitment, meant everything to me. And we carried that into college, right? This Miami was going to be it no matter what. If I came here, I stepped on campus, I wanted to leave here with my degree. I wanted to leave here, been playing for the University of Miami and be able to tell, hopefully my future kids about how much this place meant to me.
Your parents, I don't want to not talk about them, right? Both athletes. Your dad, like you mentioned, played basketball. Your mom with the softball. What are some of the lessons that they taught you, whether outside of athletics or within athletics, or probably combined, right?
My parents are the greatest. I love my parents with everything. I owe it all to them. I really do. And growing up in a Christian-based home, it was instilled early, the importance of commitment, the importance of loving, and the importance of being there for other people. So as we continued to grow up, that was always the mindset, right? It's playing for something bigger than you, and always trying to go out of your way for somebody else. And my parents being athletes, right? So we loved sports growing up, and they truly instilled that competitiveness into us, right? And that's what made it so much fun. My childhood, I honestly couldn't ask for a better childhood. My parents gave everything to me, and I owe it all to them.
You talked about just really being locked in on Miami from the beginning, but you weren't like, Daniel Cuvée, who 14 years old is committed to Miami. It was a different journey for you. So take me back to just high school. You're going to college now, and you're like, man, I mean, the road is not perfectly set out for me. What do I do?
Absolutely. Honestly, I didn't know I was coming to Miami, right? It was actually like I said earlier, watching my brother do it, inspired me. It's funny if we think about it, going all the way back to high school. Me and my brother went to the same high school. We also went to the same junior college. When I got my opportunity to go to junior college, I was ecstatic. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I'm going to go play college baseball. Because to be honest with you, in high school, I didn't think I was going to play. I was obviously undersized. I had to get a new license. I was 16 years old when I got my license. It was 5'4". Like, that's not going to cut it anymore. You know what I mean? I had to go get a new one just for people not to think I'm crazy. But yeah, I didn't know baseball with how long I was going to play. Obviously, the Lord had a plan, and I got to go play junior college ball. And my brother in 2020, obviously the shortened season, had got picked up by Miami. And man, that had been our dream school since we were kids. We had watched college baseball on the TV. It was like, man, we want to play there one day. And watching him do it, lit off a fire in me, And fortunate enough to play junior college ball and get to come down here and play at Miami-Dade, where Andrew, had maybe told JD, hey, my brother's pitching over here, you should go give him a look. Right. And he came over there, and I think the rest is history from there. I think the Lord put me in the right spot at the right time for JD to get his eyes on me, and the bond has started there. And when I finally got the opportunity to come here, it was the dream come true.
Now I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but this is so interesting to me is you follow your brother's footsteps a lot, but it wasn't like you planned, your brother didn't plan to go the route he did to get to UM. You didn't plan to go the route you did to go to UM necessarily, but a lot easier to just go right out of high school. You didn't even plan to be a closer this year. You planned to be a starter, and you still had that opportunity to be a starter down the road. But it's kind of funny how you guys end up doing the same things, not on purpose necessarily.
No, sir. And that's the cool thing about the game, and the cool thing about life, right? You truly never know. And some people were asking me, hey, were you upset? And I was like, no. And I wanted to do what was best for my team, and I wanted to, do what was the best I possibly could, right? And the fact that the coach put that much trust in me, to go down there in the back of the bullpen right after, not having at some points a shaky starting to the season was super special to me. It showed me how much they cared about me and showed me the heart they had for me. And I just wanted to give it back to them, right? I wanted to do everything I can to give it back to them and everything they had done for me. Miami has done more for me than many people actually know. I've obviously had 2 surgeries here, 2 elbow surgeries and 2 season-ending surgeries. And to still have that much faith and that much trust in me, I owe it all to the medical program with Julian Rivera over there at baseball, and JD and Laz for continuing to never give up on me. They told me, as long as you never give up on yourself, we'll never give up on you. And that meant everything to me. I honestly, I'll never forget this year. I'll never forget these moments. And it's funny you say that, because truly, me and my brother were just talking about it the other day on the phone. Look at how it all lined up. If you would have told me that the day I stepped on campus 3 years ago, I'd say there's no way. There's no way this would have happened. And it did. And it's such a special thing that me and him now bond over. So it's super cool.
And look, your brother, I mean, it's hard to accomplish more than he accomplished in college baseball, but you did accomplish some things he didn't, right? You got bragging rights a little bit from a team standpoint. So, I'm sure he's proud of everything that you've done, but you got to at least have some kind of bragging. He's a hard guy to have bragging rights on.
That's the truth. And the cool thing about my brother is he is so selfless, and he just told me how proud he was of me, just to go out there on a stage like that and just to give it all you have, and you never know when it's your last day to play. And the cool thing about me and my brother is it's always been a best friend relationship. It's never been about, the accolades and the things that people have earned, but I'm proud of him, man. He earned everything that he had gotten, and watching him debut in the big leagues was probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. If that doesn't light a fire off in you, I don't know what will. I remember I'm in class and he basically texted me and was like, "It's go time." And I'm thinking, what do you mean it's go time? Like, you're not playing for another couple hours. And I had to get out of class. I had to go call him. So I basically rose my hand, and she goes, "You're excused," right? She had no idea why I was leaving. So I go outside the door, I call him, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm going to Cleveland." So my first move, all right, I called JD. I said, "JD, I'll live tomorrow, and then I'll leave the next day." He goes, "You don't leave right now, I'm gonna be mad at you." You know what I mean? So hopped on a flight. He ended up pitching that day I showed up. The coolest thing ever. So my brother, he not only my best friend, but my role model, and someone I really, really look up to.
By the way, for those, everybody knows, but we're talking about Andrew Walters, a relief pitcher for the Cleveland Indians, one of the best closers, if not the best closer in Miami Hurricanes history, although we got some competition here sitting at the table. Going back to another cool moment, right? I'm going back a little bit. When you found out you were going to be able to have that opportunity to be a Miami Hurricane, what was that like? How did it go down and how did it feel?
Absolutely. So it's funny. I was just coming back from a little fishing trip, right? I had the boat hooked up to the truck, and we're coming back, and I see the phone ring, and it's JD. So obviously I'm frantic, right? I'm telling all my buddies in the truck that I just went fishing with, "Hey, be quiet. This one's big. This one's big." Call him. And he said, the first thing he told me was, he was a little under the weather. And he goes, "You want to make my day a little better?" I was like, "How can I do that?" He goes, "You want to be a Hurricane?" And I didn't even hesitate, man. There was no other place I wanted to play, no other team, no other coach, no nothing I wanted to play for. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." He goes, "We'll send you the details later." I was like, "It don't matter what I'm there." You know what I mean? That's where I wanted to be. And it was such a special moment for me. And I honestly probably brought tears to my eyes, man, to think that I was going to get a chance to, for what I didn't know at the beginning, but to be with my brother that year too. Called the family, and it was just such a cool thing. I'll never forget that day. I remember exactly where I was. Honestly, I remember probably the stoplight I was sitting at. You know what I mean? So, and I remember everything about that day. It was a special, special thing.
Fortunately, it wasn't, again, we keep talking about not being a smooth road, having to deal with the elbow injury. What was that like? You get to where you want to be, and now you got to deal with this now.
For sure, right? And one thing I had always knew is that the game of baseball, it's unforgiving at times, and the elbow injury, it's a thing that happens often now, unfortunately, with the way things are. And I remember that day, vividly, right? It was really hard. That was a hard process for me, but man, what a special thing to have my brother here with me, to help me get through that, and to have that much trust from a university that meant so much to me, and that they poured more into me than I possibly could pour into them. And with Julian Rivera over there and everything medically here at UM, I couldn't ask for a better. And they told me from the beginning, "You'll be back," right? It was never of an if. And if maybe if this, if that, it was, "Hey man, you're going to get back on that mound. And I want you to believe that." And ever since, remember him saying that to me, I said, "Yes, sir." And JD made it apparent to come up to me, every other month, maybe every other week, to say, "Hey man, I miss you. I can't wait to have you back." And like that, those are the type of things that go under the radar, that keep you going. And to watch my brother do his thing after, it was hard on my brother too. He wanted to come back to be with me and to play for this university together. And it ended really short, but my brother, he continued to do his thing. And I told him when I got hurt, I said, don't change a thing. I'm going to be at every game. I remember buying my own ticket just to fly out to the AC tournament to be there. Sitting there, and then as soon as I got there, the team erupted and then made sure I came down in the dugout. And it was such a cool thing. And I was proud of my brother for everything he did through that and everything he helped me and my family, right? All glory to God for everything that's ever happened, for me in my baseball career. And I'm so thankful for, family and the University of Miami and my brother.
Before we get too far off, I wanted to touch on that. A lot of players that we talk to, say pretty much all of them, very much spirituality is important to them. Faith's important to them, important to this team. We've seen the tribulations just with the season. I mean, it's very rare, as you know, to have a season with the highs and lows this one has. There's always some of them, but this was like extreme, right? One after another. Mm-hmm. So how do you think your faith and really the faith of this team allowed you guys to withstand some of that?
The faith was everything. That was the reason for the season in this sense, man. I've never been a part of a stronger knit group, tied through faith. I remember the first day we show up to our team chapel upstairs, and I'm like, wow, we had over 15 guys there. I'm like, this is amazing, right? This is what it's all about. And even with the ups and downs of the season, it stayed faithful. Understanding that our God's still faithful, and we need to stay faithful. And funny thing, just as much as I love talking about my teammates, I was so proud of all of them and proud of everything that they've done. But cool moment here, right at the end of the season, right here, we're sitting in Louisville, and it's my last opportunity for a save, and I'm out there, and things get a little rough right there in the ninth inning, and Kuv comes up to me, Big Danny, I love him to death. He comes up to me and goes, "Hey man, all that faith, we have just as much in you." He goes, "All that faith, man. You talk about it all the time. We have all that faith." I said, "Yes, sir. Let's go do it." Right. And 3 batters later, we're about to go to an elimination game. Right. Same thing in Hattiesburg. Comes up to me. I give up that 2-run homer, and I'm like, man, like why is that? I always got to make it interesting like that. You know what I mean? And he comes up to me. He goes, "This is the guy right here, man. All that faith." He goes, "We got all that faith in you, man. Let's do it." He flies out and we dogpile. And that was the coolest moment ever. But we attribute everything that's ever happened, for us as Christians to God. And we're thankful for the trials. We're thankful for the tribulation, because we wouldn't have been that resilient of a team if it wasn't for it, right? We talk about it with JD. We were resilient because of what happened, because of the hardships. And the most resilient man I know is JD. For those that know JD's story, he's a special human and a special man. And we're very, very thankful to have him leading our helm.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about that. You were here last year. Which tough season, although, you coming back and throwing heat, that was one of the high points, few high points, at least for the fans, just seeing you kind of come back. That was one thing that sticks out positive from that year. Sure. But then, a lot of heat comes on JD just naturally with a season like that. And, people that aren't, they're not in the clubhouse, they're watching, and there's a lot of heat. You're reading it. You got social media now.
Right.
What did that mean to you as someone who not only you pitch for him, your brother pitched for him? I mean, there's a deep tie there when you see that and hey, we got a season to make things right. What was your mentality?
It was special this year for me because obviously last year was hard, right? But JD poured his entire life into us, even last year, and as much as he did this year. And it was cool. I remember sitting in the bullpen early this year, and I was thinking, I'm sitting here by myself, and I'm like, I'm the only one left where JD was my pitching coach. He's now my head coach, but he was my pitching coach, and everything. And as hard as he works for us, I just wanted to give it back to him, man. I really wanted to win for the university, but I wanted to win for JD too. He's a special man. He poured so much into us in the fall. And as bad as maybe last year people might have thought, there was so much good in it too, right? JD changed just as men. He prepared us for things in life that we would never, that some people will never get prepared for. And his story is so powerful. JD is an amazing coach, an amazing human. And I would tell anybody that, I'm so thankful to have this opportunity to say it here. And this year was special for that. I remember that the coolest, one of the coolest moments for me was right after the Hattiesburg Regional, getting to give him a hug, man. That's the tightest hug he's ever given me, and I was so fired up for it, man. I was like, I wanted to tell him, like, this one's for you, man. Like, thank you for all the opportunity and everything you've done for me. You feel like, he's a father figure. And for those that aren't in the program, that don't get to see that, I'd be the first to tell you. So, JD's special human, special coach, and an awesome person.
I'm bouncing around the timeline a little bit just because you've had such an interesting career, but I want to go back to the day you did come back, right? Last year, and the arm obviously worked, right? What was going through your mind through that whole process?
Remember that day vividly. He goes, "You ready?" I'm like, "Yes, sir. I'm ready. Let's do it." He goes, Don't be afraid. It's ready." So, "Yes, sir. Let's do it." And I remember coming in that game. I remember exactly what I was wearing. The old Hurricanes jersey, green, in white pants. And I remember walking out on the mound again, hearing my walk-up song. And I was like, man, this is cool. I'm back, right? And man, God made that a special moment for me. Obviously, fortunate enough to punch out the side there. And we ended up walking that game off. We were down by, I think, 5 runs at that point. The top of the inning, scored 5 to tie it up. Ended up walking the game off. But what a cool moment for me, and having it. I mean, it was I think a 6-1 game, and hearing the fans, go crazy, in a moment like that where it's tough to even, to be fired up in that moment was everything. I remember I'm being brought to tears on the mound before I'm even throwing a pitch. Like, wow, this is what it's all about. And my teammates going crazy for me was super cool. And I honestly, I'll never forget that day. Just the other day I was watching the video of me, going down and just tying it all back together, man. And how long it's been and how far it's come. And just being so grateful, right? Nothing that I could have done, right? And just so grateful for everybody else, everybody that poured so much into me to be in this moment. If you'd have told me that day that I'd be pitching, in a super regional, I don't know if I'd said yes yet, but through everything that it's been, that was such a cool moment for me.
And last offseason, you're going into this one, you get drafted, you have an opportunity to go to the pros. You have a cleanup surgery, which I heard is not a big deal, but anytime that happens, it's not fun, right? I mean, especially after everything you've been through. Well, when it's your decision to come back?
A big part of it was UM and everything that this place has meant to me, right? And I wanted to give it back. They had poured so much into me over that year and the opportunities that they given me that I wanted to give it back. I was like, this season's going to mean more to me than any dollar you could put on anything, right? Like it's bigger than that. And so Miami was bigger than that for me. And this year was amazing, man. I got to graduate, I got to fulfill my dream of chasing Omaha, right? I remember, so we have a sticker on the door, walking out to the field. I've probably hit that sticker every day for the last 3 years. If I miss it, I go back in the door to come back and hit it again. You know what I mean? And it's something that reminds me of playing for something bigger than you. And I was so thrilled to be back on campus early this fall. And it was super, super cool.
Now, it started off as a starter, shift to the pen, kind of the family business right there. And it was obvious to anyone watching the confidence that you brought to the team in that role. What was your mindset in that role? Because I know you put a lot into being a starter. Again, I don't think the door's closed on that, right? That's still something you have the ability to do. But making that move and deciding to be the closer and accepting that role, what went into that?
I remember JD called me up. He said, "Hey, man," and he wanted to tell me, like, I don't want you to think anything bad. Yeah, I'm not. He goes, by the way, this is not a demotion, it's a promotion. And that's how he wanted me to look at it. And I agreed. I remember walking out of there and calling my brother and calling my dad and saying, them telling me, "Let's go, kid. Let's go make it happen." Right. And it was always the mentality of everything I could possibly do to help my team. It was never about me. Right. Like, I was super thrilled to have the chance to start. Right. And I don't think this season would have went the way it did for me if it wasn't for that. And having that opportunity and going through that adversity. But I was thrilled, right? I was thrilled to go back out there and compete in that manner. And something that was so special to my family. You know what I mean? Like, getting to see my brother do it for so long, I wanted to do it. I want to know what it feel like. And then my brother texted me after the game the other day and goes, "There might not be anything more special than closing one out for the boys." So there isn't. Your team comes out, you throw the last pitch, your team comes out there after a big win to be there. The dog pile in Hattiesburg solidified it for me. It's like, man, that's in a game where maybe I didn't have my greatest outing, right? But my teammates, they thought it was the greatest thing in the world, So for me, that meant more than anything. And closing was a special thing for me. I wouldn't be who I am without that opportunity. I wouldn't be who I am if season didn't start the way it did either. So I'm very, very grateful.
You always throw hard, but man, it felt like you had a little bit extra in that. Was the adrenaline pumping?
That was the most adrenaline I've ever seen. Obviously you're in a away crowd, big crowd, sold out. No one likes you there, right? And super cool thing about Hattiesburg was such a special baseball place, by the way. Shout out to them. Amazing place to play. My walkout song comes on. If anybody doesn't know it, it's "Nobody" by Casting Crowns. And they sang it with our guys, with our fans. And I was like, wow, this is bigger than baseball in that moment again. So that calmness comes over top of you. wow, like I know I am just playing a game, but it's bigger than baseball. And that was such a cool thing. And if you don't think that fired me up a little more, it sure did. It sure did. And, get to be out there and do my thing out there was super cool.
We'll get to some fan questions here, but I wanted to ask, when you're not feeling good, because obviously everybody sees the saves, the dog piles, everything else, but they don't see the rehab, especially you had to go through that, just days you're not feeling great, or maybe you had a bad outing, whatever it is. What is it that motivates you, pushes you to show up to the workout, wake up early, and do the things that aren't necessarily fun at that time?
I would say faith, number one, right? Trusting that it's all part of the plan, right? The story's already written, God already written our story. So getting to go out there, and it's viewing it as a privilege, right? I get the privilege of working out today, of getting better today, to get an opportunity to be better for my team, and also having such a great support staff. I remember walking off the mountain and my guys saying, "Hey man, like right back at him tomorrow." I remember I didn't have my greatest outing in Virginia, ended up actually getting walked off on. And before I could even get in the tunnel towards the bus, JD told me, he goes, "I'm going right back to you. He goes, be ready, I'm going right back to you." And in that moment, I had to flip the script. Obviously I wasn't feeling good in that moment. But he told me, "I'm giving you the ball again." And I'm like, "Yes, sir. Like, let's get better. Let's be ready for it again." And then same thing as rehab. Some days I didn't want to do it. Right. It just, arm wasn't feeling right. Wasn't feeling well, and I didn't want to get up and I didn't want to go to rehab. But I remember having those phone calls with Julian and say, "Man, it just doesn't feel right." He goes, "It will." He goes, "Just show up, just be here." "Yes, sir. I'll be there." And every single time I showed up, there was a motivation that was beyond me. So a special thing there. And there's nothing like being part of a team, right? There's nothing like playing for something bigger than yourself. And that's what UM brings. So if anybody that's watching, UM brings that. It brings the best out of you. And it's changed me as a man and as a person. And I wouldn't be who I am without it.
It was a pleasure to watch. We got some fan questions here. Very popular guy. When Adam wants to know, who's your favorite baseball player of all time? And let's exclude your brother.
Okay, so if we're excluding Andrew, Chipper Jones. Growing up, I wanted to be him. If anybody wonders why I wear number 10, I got it around my neck. But I wear number 10 because I wanted to be Chipper Jones. We grew up an Atlanta Braves fan. So we were watching Chipper Jones when I was younger. And I wanted to be number 10. I wanted to play third base.
He was committed to the Canes, I believe, at one point.
Was he really?
I'm pretty sure he was. Because maybe someone in the comments will correct me, but I think he was committed to the Canes out of Jacksonville. And then, of course,
I love that.
He was like the number 1 pick or something like that.
For sure.
So, another question. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of pitchers?
I'm a big Jacob deGrom fan, in terms of, Major League there. I love his story, very connected, to that, and a guy that's been through some adversities and come back stronger, each and every time. So I would put Jacob deGrom up on that one for me.
The Florida guy right there. What's your favorite NFL team?
Have to be the Dolphins.
Dolphins, yeah.
Have to be the
struggle.
Dolphins. Yeah, have to be the Dolphins. But my uncle actually played for the Dolphins as well.
Did he really?
Without going with, honestly, ended up having a couple, hard times up with the knees, but he had the opportunity to play for the Dolphins. So anything in Miami through and through. So I'll ride with the Dolphins until I can't. So.
Yeah, your uncle was a stud. For those who had not seen Matt Walters, one of the most athletic defensive linemen we had. His whole thing was he lived in the backfield. Like if you saw him, if you were watching him, he was not one of these guys that's clogging up a million blocks. He is making play after play after play. He was a really, really good player.
Uncle Matt was fearless, right? He was a fierce competitor, and one of the biggest reasons we wanted to be a Miami Hurricane. And he set the standard. The standard was all out effort, and that was the standard for us as a family. All out effort when it came to the University of Miami.
He got, Ed Reed kind of took one from him because he really clinched the game, and then Reed got all the credit for stealing the ball from him. The game was over.
Yep. Cool. One of the coolest moments he said ever. He goes, I couldn't really see. I remember telling him this. I asked him, I said, "What was it about that play?" He goes, "I couldn't really see him. I mean, I could hear him." He came in, he started talking to me, and I knew who it was, and I just let it go. I said, "That's cool. That's really cool."
So, by the way, I was right. Chipper Jones was committed to go to the University of Miami.
Nice.
So, followed in the footsteps there. Last question from somebody that I think you know pretty well. Young man by the name of Max Levi Galvin wants to know, how do you maintain your aura?
I knew he was going to say something like that. Funny thing about us, we were having this funny thing with the camera guys where it was called aura farming. We would just like take a funny picture of ourselves and looking off in the sky, acting like he's not there. And we had these lists throughout the year of the aura farming rankings. At one point, I was on the top, and so all year we'd make it apparent, like pregame, I'd try to at least get one picture where I could send it in the group chat, like, was I farming? Where's the aura at? And it ended up being a really cool thing. I became a closer, and they would say it every time they would take an action shot at the end of the game. Goes, you got to quit farming so hard. You got to quit doing that. It ended up being such a really, really cool thing. So Max, he's got Max aura. So I'm gonna give that one to him, but I try my best.
Shout out to James Knable and his whole team there getting those shots. So this one's for me because I talked to Daniel Cuvée. I know he prides himself as being a pretty good fisherman. I know some other guys on the team like to fish. Who is the best fisherman on the team?
Me, usually I want to sit here and shout out somebody else as humbly as I possibly can. But I grew up fishing my whole life. So I'm going to try and say I'm going to take that one. Normally I wouldn't say that. Normally I would just give it to a guy. But I just talked to Danny the other day. He didn't invite me on the fishing trip yesterday. I was upset about it. I don't think he wanted me to catch more than him. But no, Danny, that's my guy. But I'm gonna take that one.
I know you said salt and fresh, but is your specialty bass going to like Okeechobee doing your thing?
So when I was growing up, the biggest thing for me was bass, right? And then I got a little older where I could go out by myself and go out with my dad out on the rocks in Sebastian Inlet and start catch snook. So I think catching a snook is my favorite thing. So if to be honest with you, within the next week, I will be on the inlet rocks catching a snook. So hope maybe I can send you guys that picture or something. But that's a specialty of ours.
And look, who knows where you end up going? You could be fishing for rainbow trout. You could be fishing for walleye. Right? That's the cool thing about it.
No matter what, we will be fishing. That's all I can tell you. We will be fishing.
Well, Brian, man, listen, it was a pleasure watching your whole career. It was really special watching this team. I know a lot of young kids watch you guys, saw how you dealt with things, watch how you pushed through things, and that impact will be felt far beyond just this season. So we appreciate you. I know Canes fans appreciate you. Remember to like and subscribe to Storm Sessions, Canes All Access on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Storm Sessions, Spotify, and always give it up for this guy right here, Brian Walters. Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.